How's it going, Forest Dwellers? So, 2 Foot Giant back again. I was going to do the next flavor in VGod, and I stumbled across a amazing piece of hardware. So tonight is going to be the Uwell CROWN. Now, one of the things that I was also, honestly kind of thrown for was its stainless steel coils. Now, it does show dual coils, single coils 0.25, 0.5, and the single coils 1.2, as well as they make 0.15 nickel coils. So in the box, it's normal, box. You get the tank, 2 coil heads, an extra glass, and installed, you get another coil. So you get 3 coils total with the CROWN. Now, you pull out the little holder. There's nothing hidden because it's all up front. Little packet of silica. You get a packet of extra O-rings. You get 2 little inserts. One has QC. I'll kind of leave that there for a second in case y'all want to scan it. On the other side of here is tips for how to top fill. This one, honestly, I have not pulled out and taken a look at yet, is the user's manual for the tank itself. Now, let's see if there's anything in here that's just not understood for anybody that's not going to know what they're doing. Let's see. Okay, so it's basically all of the normal go-to stuff, how to prime your coil, adding liquid to the coil before you actually install it and fire it the first time. That way you don't have to sit it down and wait 4 or 5 minutes for it to actually wick properly on its own. Now, on the left portion of this, showing that product features food grade stainless steel heating wire, nickel dual coils, Japanese organic cotton, dual coil with huge vapor for wide range of wattage, top and bottom filling available, adjustable airflow, and it completely comes apart. So it's liquid capacity 4 milliliters, quartz glass, stainless steel shell. Now the dual coil 0.5s say 30 to 80 watts. The 0.25 shows 30 to 120 watts. So apparently you can fire the recommended fire higher than the Arctic coil, which, if y'all have heard me talk about the Arctic coil at all before, I love the Arctic coil. That sumbitch is bulletproof. I've fired it far higher than the 100 watts and kept going like a champ. The nickel coil, the 0.15 ohm, tells you 150 C to 350 C. I'd have to swap over to temperature control to see what that is in Fahrenheit, because I'm just too dumb to do the math. Now, the single coil, the 1.2 ohm, tells you 10 watt to 30 watt. So, enough for the little inserts and everything like that. Let's take a look. I know the coil that came installed already was the 0.5. Let's get these pulled out. This one is another 0.5 and 0.5. So you get 3.5 coils with them. Now they are sealed with this little rubber condom on top. So make sure, compensate for stupidity. Take the little rubber thing off, you guys. So you can see nice size airflow in the bottom of the coil itself. Juice holes, 4 of them, probably 2 mil in diameter. And then of course vertical coil inside. They are hefty. They do have some weight to them. I like them. If you take a look inside, it's a single coil, but one spot oddly looks like it's welded in there. So, I mean, I'm not going to go just ripping apart the coil. Now, I'm not afraid to say I didn't get this from a store. I didn't get it from a sponsor. Nothing like this. There's a guy over on Facebook, the group that he runs, he does a bunch of waffles. So, being able to get, in there. So that one is Bucks Contest Hideaway. And I'll put the link directly into his group down there for you. Mr. Charles is an awesome individual. He's always as honest as humanly possible. I mean, honestly, he's a badass dude. So we've gone through what the coils are made out of, the wattage on the heads that you want to use them on. Now, there is a rebuildable atomizer head that they have made for it. He's got that on order for me. So we just kind of wait for that to come in, and I'll do a separate review for that. Honestly, I've been vaping on this since about 7-8 hours now. I've been using this tank, and quite frankly, I love it. I mean, I flat love this tank. Let's see. I'm going to show you just all the way around. Now the airflow, if I can get it to where you can see it, if you can hear that, it ratchets 4 different settings. Open, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the smallest one is pretty damn small for those guys that just don't want a whole hell of a lot of airflow. Now, there is a restriction on the pull on the smallest setting. Really restrictive. 2. Still bellowing out a little cloud. 3. That 1 and the 2 kind of sucked fluid off into that coil. Almost like it was trying to flood it. And then wide open. Vapor is absolutely amazing. Flavor, ungodly. I mean, I love this tank. I mean, flat out love this tank. You think about it, I've had the Arctic, which my wife stole because she liked it, that got stolen out of her car along with her T8. I've got the Atlantis V2 that was given to me by a really good guy on Houston Vapor Club, Joseph Little, along with my IPv3 that y'all see me messing with every now and then. Those were given to me as her just in case mod, because she lost her mod at one point in time, and then the second time it just up and got stolen out of her car. So the Arctic, the Atlantis V2, I've got the Star V3 by Freemax, which is up until now has been one of my favorite tanks. I've got another video that I actually reviewed the Freemax. Only gripe I had about that tank is that the actual glass that came with it did not fit the tank. And aside from that, I have my handy dandy and always trusty Sub-Tank Mini. This is my everyday tank. I love this tank. The rebuildable heads are the way to go. Now I've got the V2 head in it. But this Crown just outright takes the cake. I mean, it's flavor for days. Clouds are amazing for a tank. And what this is, the .5 head that's in it, and I'm only firing it at 60. You know, I'm topping this device out. I had it on the IPv3 earlier, firing it at around 73, 74 watts, and it is, I mean, it doesn't get too hot. It produces the same amount of flavor, same amount of vapor. It's just, I really do just think this is going to be the new Arctic. It's, if it can wick max VG fluid like the Arctic can, I'll never buy another Arctic. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. And I've always loved the Arctic. The only thing whatsoever that I can gripe about this is the fact that this airflow control ring sticks out like this. Now, that's a good thing. That way you can adjust your airflow without, you know, taking your tank off. Now, the only problem with that is when you go to take off your tank, if you grab it too high, you open the tank. If you grab it on the airflow, it's just going to turn your airflow. You have to get down underneath the airflow to grab the tank, which means that you're pinching yourself between the airflow and your mod trying to get the tank off. Now, it will come off, no problems whatsoever. It's just a little odd. Now, the drip tip itself, standard drip tip, good wide bore on it, dual O-ring. It's got this weird little bevel on it, and I didn't really understand why until I looked at the top of the tank itself. It's got a slope to it as well. So it's made just specifically to fit in there flush. Now, to top fill this tank, grab it up here at the other spot that looks exactly like the airflow control, but up here. Untwist that. Now here's the other thing. There's an O-ring here. There's an O-ring here on the inside and on the outside to make sure that there is no leaking. And I was expecting a little rubber grommet, you know, like most of the other top fill tanks now that are out. They've got this weird little rubber plug that you have to pull out, save and hold on to, and hope to God you don't lose it. This just has these 4 giant holes for you to fill up in, and it is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this bottle. It's the grass jelly drink with lychee from Bamskalicious. It's my new sponsor. Guys, if y'all missed that show last night, 3 30ml bottles they gave away last night. They're going to be moving up, and we're going to be doing bigger bottles. So, I mean, it doesn't quite fit in there, you know, but it still allows it to fill up with no problem. So, the way that this isn't entirely flush between the middle chimney and the outside allows you to just kind of sit it on the chimney and then lean it forward. That way you can go ahead and fill it up. A dripper might fit a little bit well, might fit a little bit better if I can learn how to talk. So if I can open the damn bottle. So let's see here. Yeah, so there's your fitting on a glass dripper bottle. Sits pretty much the same way. If you have any of the sharp, see, I think this is one. Yeah, any of these sharp bottles, that's going to fit in there pretty much perfectly. Go all the way into the tank itself. That way you know you're not going to spill anything anywhere. But once you've got your juice in there, you just kind of give it a little bit of a backspin until you feel the threads click, and then go ahead and twist it in. Now, the first thing I did is just went ahead and filled that up. Then I pulled out the card, looked at it. What it tells you to do is to close your airflow before you open this up, fill it, and close it back down, and then open your airflow back up. I've noticed I've filled this tank up twice already. It didn't seem to make that much of a difference to me. I haven't had any leaking or anything out of it. Now, there's one thing I wanted to make sure that I showed on here, and that's when you go to thread it on, you got to make sure you give it that little bit of a backspin to make sure those threads bite. Because if you just slap it on there and try to spin it, they are pretty tight little threads. I don't know if that will focus. They're pretty tight little threads on there. So it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt trying to get them on there. Now, go ahead with my little bad drip smiley face cloth. I'm going to take the coil out and show you the inside of the base. The inside of the base is wide open. I mean, there is no little divider wall like you see a lot. Nothing like that. It is wide open. And it is gorgeous. I think that's one of the things that has a lot to do with how much cloud it produces, because there's nothing to get in the way of the airflow at the bottom except for the coil itself. So bottom or top fill, doesn't matter. If you bottom fill, it's a little bit tougher because it looks like you're really going to have to angle that to be able to get in through it. So just stick with the top filling. That's the reason you bought the tank anyway, or the reason that you will buy the tank anyway, is because it's top fill. You never actually have to take it off of your mod unless you got to change out the coil. Now, when I get to a point where I have to change out a coil, I'll put a little comment below, or I'll edit my description, one of the two, so that y'all can get a general idea on how long a coil lasts. Because that's always a big question that I get from everybody. How long do these coils last? Man, these coils are going to last is completely dependent on you. What you're firing it at, what you're putting in the tank, how much you're vaping on it. It's all dependent on you. You take like the Ego 1. I've seen those coils burn up in a week and a half. I've seen them burn up in 3-4 days. And on the other hand, I've seen people that have had them in there for a month and a half or more. So it all just completely depends on you. But guys, I mean, this tank is just amazing. One of the things you'll notice a lot when you go from a dripper to a tank is that the flavor might get a little muted. Some things might just miss entirely out of the flavor. The reason that I did the grass jelly drink with lychee by Bamskalicious was because they're one of the guys that they actually bottled the texture of that juice. I mean, you can feel the jelly consistency that you would if you were drinking like the bubble teas or an actual jelly drink, something of that. You can feel that texture when you vape this. My Subtank Mini, you don't get that texture. My Atlantis V2, you don't get that texture. You still get that texture out of this Crown. I mean, there is nothing missing from this flavor at all. It just clouds for days. I love this tank. I really, really do. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, guys, there you have it. You normally have got, me, yeah, this is good, no, this is bad. I'm just going to flat tell you, go buy a Crown. You will not be displeased with this tank at all, whatsoever. The fact that you can vape it between 30 and 80 for the 0.5, you seen me vaping it at 60, let's bump it down to 30. Let's get to the bottom of that sweet spot and see how it vapes there. So we're sitting at dead at 30, 3.91 volt. So let's see. Takes a little bit of a toll on the cloud, but that's to be expected. You're not firing it as hot. Unless you preheat the coil. If you sit there and let it burn for a second and then hit it, it's already reached, temperature. It's ready to go. Now, down at 30 watts, it is taking a little bit of a toll on the flavor. But, I mean, that's the bottom of the sweet spot. I mean, let's go even lower. Let's take it to 28. So it will still fire. Let's take the idea that you've got the E-Leaf iStick 20. 20 watts is your maximum. Can you still use this? No, because it's a 0.5, but let's see how it would fire at 20 watts. So, I mean, the cloud obviously gets smaller because you're only vaping it at 20. It's 3.19 volts. Flavor is almost gone, but it'll still fire. So, I mean, hell, you can't go wrong at all. But 60 watts to 80 watts, it just gets richer and more full on the vapor, on the flavor. My batteries in my PV3 died, or I'd show you that one. But yeah, I mean, just vapor for days, flavor for days. I love this tank. I really do. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I won't buy another Arctic. I don't care if this wicks Max VG or not. I'll just stop vaping Max VG. This tank is absolutely amazing. Now, the amount of time that y'all have seen me here, it's almost 25 minutes. That last fire, Tip did start getting just a little warm. So if you chain vape on it, it's going to start heating up. But that's anything, 25 minutes completely chain vaping on a flavor. If something doesn't get hot, it's got another problem. The base is a little toasty right now. But all right, guys. So there you go. Uwell, the Crown tank. Just go buy it. I mean, hit stop. Go buy it. If you got to order it, pay shipping. I don't care. Buy this tank.